Good, happy Thursday morning, June 18, 2020. I'm Riley King, and welcome to this Thursday morning edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to this Thursday morning, so let's begin. First up, 4 more COVID-19 deaths announced in New Hampshire. 73 more cases confirmed. Most new cases associated with testing at long-term care facilities. Four more Granite Staters have died of COVID-19, and 73 new positive cases were confirmed, health officials said Wednesday. The 4 people who died were all 60 years old or older and residents of Hillsborough County, officials said. There have now been 330 deaths attributed to COVID-19 in New Hampshire. Officials said about 75% of the new cases were found during recurring tests of residents and staff members of the 3 long-term care facilities. 19 were not associated with the long-term care facility. 2 of the new cases were people under the age of 18, officials said. 10 more people were hospitalized with COVID-19, officials said. There have been 531 people hospitalized in New Hampshire for COVID-19 since the beginning of the pandemic, while 56 people are currently hospitalized. COVID-19 in New Hampshire, what you need to know information. Let's take a look at that right now. And here is a look at that information for all of you right now. There are 5,436 number of people in New Hampshire have tested positive for COVID-19. 2,159,446 number of people in the United States who have tested positive. 330 number of deaths from COVID-19 in New Hampshire. 531 number of people who have been hospitalized with COVID-19 in New Hampshire. 117,663 number of deaths from COVID-19 in the United States. Let's take a look at this map of New Hampshire where current cases of COVID-19 are in New Hampshire. Manchester, 221. Let's take a look at this map of New Hampshire where total cases of COVID-19 are in New Hampshire. Manchester, 14.4. Now let's take a look at these 3 charts here. Let's start with the first chart here. New cases each day in New Hampshire in the purple. Daily new positive COVID-19 cases. In the orange, new hospitalizations. And in the red are the deaths. Let's take a look at this chart here. Current cases. In the purple, total current COVID-19 cases. And in the orange, current hospitalizations. And let's take a look at this chart here. Total cases in the purple, total positive COVID-19 cases. In the orange, total hospitalizations, red deaths, and blue recovered. Now let's take a look at this chart here. Age group of cases. Female and male of cases. And risk information. And now let's take a look at this here. Infections, hospitalizations, and deaths. Let's take a look at this chart here. Deaths, percent of New Hampshire population, race/ethnicity of cases, and hospitalizations. And a reminder, your common symptoms: fever, lack of smell, cough, chills, and difficult breathing. How it spreads, and prevention tips. And be sure to stay with the Riley King Network for the latest of your COVID-19 information. Sununu says final round of business guidance will be released soon. Governor plans to release guidance, launch Policy Accountability Commission. Launch Police Accountability Commission. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Adam Sexton.
Chapel Tractor has been in our family since 1955, when great-grandfather Pearlie and our grandfather George decided...
New guidance from the state is likely coming Thursday on the final round of reopenings following the lapse of the stay-at-home order. Large gathering business sectors like amusement parks and movie theaters are expected to get the go-ahead to reopen under new guidance on June 29th. But Governor Chris Sununu says Granite Staters should not let their guard down when it comes to COVID-19.
One thing that we've learned is the data shows that when we take those responsibilities on, whether it's wearing a mask, keeping our physical distancing, being smart about our interactions outside of the home, that is the most powerful tool that we have in terms of maintaining the mitigation of the spread of the virus.
As those pandemic guidance documents get hammered out, the governor is also pushing forward with police reform efforts. His office says it hopes the newly formed Commission on Law Enforcement Accountability, Community, and Transparency will hold its first meeting within the next week. The governor says big issues like training, standard operating procedures, continuing education, and protocols for handling allegations of misconduct will all be addressed. And it doesn't matter if it's a big-time police force like Nashua or Manchester or a small department in the North Country. This effort will be statewide.
To reach out to all of the departments, large and small, across the state, in the rural areas, in the inner city areas, whatever it might be, to make sure that everyone has kind of an equal understanding of what the issues are and some of these new training protocols that may come into place.
The governor says there will also be a focus on mental health in this discussion, not just in how officers deal with people in crisis, but also issues facing officers themselves. Reporting live in Concord, Adam Sexton, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. "50 pop-up sites in Massachusetts continue to offer COVID-19 testing." Let's take a listen to that video from WCVB Boston.
I earned my associate's degree before graduating from Madison Park Technical Vocational High School. The early college program made this all possible. See what's possible for you at bostonontrack.com.
Some in this line wrapped around Brookside Community Health Center in Jamaica Plain reported waiting as long as an hour and a half.
Yeah, I'm glad, to be honest. I mean, only as long as your own data, so I'm glad people are coming out. I think it's good for the community, good for citizens.
It took a little bit of time, but really it wasn't that bad.
Most here, like Madeline Wigman, appreciated the convenience and were looking for peace of mind after having attended crowded protests.
I wore 2 masks, not that it really matters, but definitely tried to stay as far away as possible. Definitely couldn't be 6 feet at all times.
We went to the protest and just wanted to be sure that, everything is fine. Headed back to Connecticut for Father's Day, so I wanted to make sure everything was all squared away.
Last week, Boston opened similar testing locations for those who attended the first protest. Officials said of the 1,300 or so tested, only 1% were positive. Some experts say it is impossible to know the source of any positive cases.
Pretty much impossible to tell whether any changes in numbers are attributable to any particular event or demonstration or just people being out and about.
And as for the test itself,
It's one of those.
Gets you jiggles, It just goes in, gives you a little bit of jiggles.
A good reminder, this location as well as 51 others are open again on Thursday. In Jamaica Plain, Julie Lonchek, WCVB News Center 5.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. State reevaluating timeline for reopening of bars for indoor service. Let's take a listen to that video from WMTW News 8 Maine.
When you walk into an Amazon fulfillment center, it's like walking into the chocolate factory, and you want...
Megan, bars are actually well positioned in this city to continue serving customers if the reopening of indoor service is delayed. Many bars and restaurants have set up outdoor seating and have gotten creative in doing so, like you see here. And it is the case all the way down the street where we're located. In fact, in Portland, 4 city streets are closed for this reason, but not all business owners are going to be so lucky. Again, nothing official here, but Dr. Nirav Shah says the state is re-evaluating the timeline for reopening, which was originally scheduled for July 1. The concern here is tied to 2 clusters of the coronavirus, the first in Jacksonville, Florida, the other in Boise, Idaho. And in each case, upwards of 20 people are believed to have contracted the virus in a single night. Dr. Shah says based on this, he's concerned about safety.
They are often crowded. They often involve enclosed spaces where individuals are almost by definition in close contact with one another. And similarly, social distancing is extremely difficult. In fact, the reason you go to a bar is to not social distance.
Dr. Shah says that both Massachusetts and Vermont are reevaluating their timelines for reopening bars for indoor service as well.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Reopen news. NYC to enter Phase 2 on Monday, Governor Cuomo says. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC7 NY.
Also, restaurants in the nation's biggest city getting ready to open for outdoor dining. Governor Cuomo saying New York City could move to Phase 2 by Monday.
Eyewitness News reporter Josh Einiger is live on the Upper East Side with a look at what Phase 2 means. Josh?
Well, Shada, it means on blocks like this here on 2nd Avenue, lined with restaurants, it means sidewalk cafes that will be as far as the eye can see. But the question tonight, will it be enough to save restaurants, thousands of them, that are circling the drain after this pandemic? News of a pending Phase 2 opening came with a touch-up with cleaning solution, such as life now.
It's going to be a whole different world.
At Good Enough to Eat on the Upper West Side, Jeremy Wilatis has been trying to make do with a sidewalk pastry stand. Starting Monday, he can finally serve sit-down food again on this makeshift patio he's throwing together outside, bringing in cash he desperately needs.
In New York City, I don't know of one person who is successfully paying even half their bill. Not one person do I know makes enough money.
We did what we had to do, my friends, and we did it together.
Today, Governor Cuomo announced the city finally will move to Phase 2 of reopening. That means outdoor dining, also heavily regulated office jobs. You can finally get your hair cut again and shop indoors. Cuomo says it's all on track for this coming Monday, fully contradicting the mayor, who yesterday said we might have to wait till July.
To be as early as June 22nd. I've said I think it's going to take a longer than that.
The mayor is saying one thing, some people think the governor is saying another thing.
Andrew Ridgey runs the New York City Hospitality Alliance, representing thousands of restaurants and bars which still haven't gotten clarity on proposals to expand outdoor space into the street, a play for added revenue he says could pull restaurants back from the brink.
They didn't shut down because they were doing something wrong or people didn't like their food or their drink. They were shut down by a government mandate.
But in the next 6 months, people are going to drop like flies. When it comes to be November, even if there is not another COVID, when it comes to October and November, when the weather starts to get bad on the Upper West Side, your sales really die. And when that happens, restaurants are going to close like there's no tomorrow.
Hence the urgency to at least get some business pumping. But here's the problem. In a space like this, once they socially distance the tables, they could really only fit 4. And that's really not enough to pay the bills. So this restaurant wants to expand the sidewalk seating all the way to the curb, possibly even into where the bike lane is also. That's going to require all kinds of city permissions, and so far they have no idea even how to ask for that.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. We'll have to see what happens. DC family heartbroken after father of 3 gunned down on his way home from work. Let's take a listen to that video from WJLA 7 News ABC.
New at 5, a heartbreaking story. DC. A family is mourning the murder of their loved one, a 32-year-old father of 3, with a 4th on the way. As police search for Kevin Redd's killer, his family tells ABC 7 DC Bureau Chief Sam Ford what he meant to them.
He's sick. He's just sick. He's just sick.
11-year-old Kevin Jr. and his mom talking about whoever killed his dad. 32-year-old Kevin Redd, found shot to death in this alley near his home early Thursday.
I've been with him since I've been 14 years old. I'm 30 now.
Sweetheart since high school, 3 children ages 12, 11, 5, and she's 8 months pregnant with their 4th. He was nicknamed the heartbeat of Half Smoke. She said 4 years ago her husband started off washing dishes at the restaurant near Howard U. He was the manager last week when he locked up, took a bus to Minnesota Metro Station, and started walking home.
I don't have many details I can share with the public on this case. If that should change, we'll definitely share what we can.
Somebody knows something to just help us out so we can get some type of peace.
The wife said police told her he was shot multiple times and not robbed.
Life is just meaningless to a lot of people. So I believe that it was attempted robbery.
Family members say he put this basketball goal up for his son, coach football, a family man.
I'm heartbroken because every day he would come out and play basketball with me. Now it's really like I really don't have nobody to play basketball with. I want them to know that they just destroyed my family. They destroyed our family. Kevin didn't really mean no harm to anybody. I just don't know how I'm going to move forward after this.
In Northeast Washington, I'm Sam Ford, ABC 7 News.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Lawyers launch new effort to remove North Carolina's monuments to the Confederacy. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC 11, North Carolina.
It's been done before, and we will do it again.
New tonight on Eyewitness News, the call to remove Confederate monuments growing louder in the wake of nationwide demonstrations over the death of George Floyd and the focus on the racial justice movement. Tonight, some prominent attorneys here in North Carolina are making a new case for why those monuments on government land should go. Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm Steve Daniels, social distancing here at home tonight. Hi,
And
Amber.
hi, Steve. I'm Amber Rapinta. Thanks for joining us. Tisha Powell is off tonight. A group of 60 lawyers signing a letter to Governor Cooper and state lawmakers. And tonight we're hearing from two of the lawyers about the new argument they're using to get rid of Confederate monuments. Joel Brown is live in Raleigh with more on this. Joel?
Yeah, Amber, Steve, look, here is a copy of the letter that went out today to the governor and leaders at the legislature, and the message is pretty clear in this, that these Confederate monuments that stand in big, important civic spaces must come down. But this time, they're arguing their point on constitutional grounds. When demonstrators took over downtown Raleigh streets in a call for racial justice in the wake of George Floyd, the Confederate monuments on the state capitol grounds became a gathering point for what so many believe they truly are, relics of racism that need to be removed.
These monuments stand for secession, for slavery, for white supremacy. They can't stand under our state and federal constitution, need to come down.
On Zoom tonight, we talked to Hampton Dellinger and Nana Asante Smith, two of the 60 North Carolina lawyers who signed the letter to Governor Cooper and state lawmakers, prominent attorneys, all making the case that the monument's existence on government lands violates Black Americans' constitutional right to equal protection under the law. In this case, the lawyers say it's protection from a racially hostile environment.
Because having monuments like this towering over us in areas of such prominence is a reflection of our society and our community not being fully and wholly committed to rectifying and making amends for the centuries of harm and terror that has been inflicted upon Black people in this country.
North Carolina sent more men to fight in the Confederate Army than any other southern state, over 130,000, and defenders of the monuments, many of which were built decades after the Civil War, insist they stand as symbols of heritage, not hate. But after a 2015 state law barred cities and towns from removing the monuments on their own, opponents took matters into their own hands, toppling Silent Sam at UNC, a similar fate for the Confederate statue at the Durham County Courthouse, but over 100 remain across the state.
It is just one piece of a very painful and complex puzzle that we need to be proactively working to deconstruct piece by piece.
What we're expecting and what we're hoping for is action. And there's a legal basis for it, there's a moral basis for it, and it just needs to happen.
Or else what?
Well, there are a lot of lawyers on the letter, and they know how to file a lawsuit.
And so we'll bring it back out live on the west front of the state capitol, and you can see some of the protest messages still scrolled on the side of the Confederate monument here. Take it down, and George Floyd's name written as well. Look, time's going to tell if this letter turns into a lawsuit. Governor Cooper's already on the record saying these Confederate monuments and Confederate history belong in North Carolina textbooks and museums, not civic spaces. We did reach out to the top Republicans in the state House and the state Senate today. We have not heard back yet from Speaker Moore or Senate Leader Berger. We are live in Raleigh tonight. I'm Joel Brown, ABC 11, Eyewitness News at 10.
All right, Joel, thank you for that. You know, the actual removal of Confederate monuments started a few years ago in our area. In August 2017, protesters knocked down a Confederate monument in front of the old Durham County Courthouse. That was in response to a white nationalist rally in Charlottesville, Virginia. Joel talked about this. And a year later, a large group also toppled the controversial statue called Silent Sam on the UNC campus. Last November, crews dismantled a Confederate monument in front of the Chatham County Courthouse in Pittsboro. And just this month, the Rocky Mount City Council voted to remove the monument at Battle Park. Removing Confederate monuments, though, can be difficult in North Carolina because of a state law. You can read Jonah Kaplan's recent I-Team report on that right now. It's on abc11.com. Just click on the I-Team tab on the homepage.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Very interesting there. All lanes of the Roosevelt Bridge closed for repairs. FDOT advised police to close bridge after concrete fell from the bottom. Let's take a listen to that video from WPBF 25 News, Florida.
My name is Oscar, and I deliver packages for Amazon.
Officials say this is something you should get used to. The Roosevelt Bridge and Stewart shut down in both directions.
Considering they shut down the bridge in both directions, I would say that it's significant, but at this point, they're getting back to us with additional details.
Officials say the issue was first discovered on Tuesday. Florida's Department of Transportation inspects the bridge every 2 years, and this time, they found damage.
Last night, we received a report that some concrete fell from underneath the Roosevelt Bridge on the south side.
Inspectors say they found rust in the steel cables on the south side and chose to shut down traffic in that direction. Then they checked the north side and found more structural damage. Around 2 p.m. on Wednesday, they decided to close the bridge entirely.
You gotta turn around. U-turn, buddy. It's the only way you can go.
The Department of Transportation has yet to make any official comment on the situation. How bad is the damage? What repairs need to be made? And how long will the bridge need to stay closed?
Again, this is out of an abundance of caution for our public safety. If there is any risk of any falling concrete or structural collapse, we want to make sure that nobody is injured or killed because of it.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Half-brother of Robert Fuller killed in shooting with deputies in Rosamond, attorney says. Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department deputies were involved Wednesday in a shooting with the half-brother of Robert Fuller, the man who was found dead hanging in a Paladol Park last week. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC 7.
Done before, we will do it again.
Reached out and touched the sky.
Breaking news at 11. Bullets fly during a dangerous gun battle between LA County Sheriff's deputies and an armed man in Rosamond, just north of Lancaster. Tonight, we've learned the man who was killed in that gun battle is the half-brother of Robert Fuller, the man found hanging from a Palmdale tree 1 week ago. Eyewitness News reporter Veronica Miracle live in Rosamond with the late-breaking new details tonight. Veronica.
Well, Mark, you can see still a very active scene behind me. That car in question is actually just over my shoulder there. Deputies tell us that the suspect was wanted for assault and kidnapping, and when the gunfight broke out, a 7-year-old girl was in the car. Ring doorbell video capturing a gunfight at a Rosamond apartment complex. Inside this bullet-riddled car, an assault and kidnapping suspect in the passenger seat, a woman at the wheel, and a 7-year-old in the back.
I heard the helicopters, the sirens, the gunshots and everything. So when I comes out, I see a bunch of people out here grabbing their kids and stuff like that because it did go on with the kids outside.
And tonight, a stunning development. The suspect, identified by family members as Taryn Jamal Boone. They say he's the half-brother of Robert Fuller, a black man found hanging from a tree in Palmdale 1 week ago. Boone was wanted for kidnapping his ex and assaulting her, according to deputies.
They followed the suspect for a while, and then they attempted to do a traffic stop on the suspect. When the suspect stopped his vehicle, he opened the door and began shooting at the deputies, and a deputy-involved shooting occurred.
Investigators say the woman in the driver's seat is not the victim in the assault case. She was shot in the chest and is expected to survive her injuries. The 7-year-old girl was uninjured. A gun was also found at the scene. And in response tonight, Air 7 HD capturing Black Lives Matter protesters marching in Palmdale to the sheriff's station. And meanwhile, the family tonight of Robert Fuller, through a lawyer, gave us this statement saying, at this time, until we receive all of the information, the family and their legal team doesn't have any further comment on this incident. The family respectfully asks that their privacy be respected. For now.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Stock features rise after China's health experts say Beijing virus outbreak is under control. Stock features rose during early morning trade on Thursday, pairing losses after a disease expert in China announced the latest outbreak of the coronavirus case in Beijing had been brought under control. Officers charged in Rashard Brooks shooting. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on this Wednesday night. We have a lot to get to. The first look at our exclusive interview with John Bolton as the president tries to block his book. But we're going to begin tonight with charges now filed against 2 Atlanta police officers in the shooting death of Rashard Brooks. The DA today coming before the cameras after reviewing evidence in the case, body cam, dash cam, and cell phone video, as well as witness testimony, concluding Rashard Brooks had been cooperative and at no time posed a threat of serious harm to the officers, and finding several issues with that attempted arrest and with the gunfire that took Brooks' life. Former Officer Garrett Rolfe is now facing 11 charges, including felony murder for shooting Brooks in the back. Officer Devin Brosnan facing 3 charges, including aggravated assault for stepping on Brooks' shoulder as he lay on the ground. And the DA saying today that second officer, Devin Brosnan, has agreed to turn state's witness to testify against Garrett Rolfe. But that officer's attorney late today denying this, saying there is no deal. ABC's Steve Osunsami leading us off again tonight from Atlanta.
It's what the streets wanted, a murder charge in Atlanta tonight for the officer seen here shooting Rashard Brooks in the parking lot of this Wendy's restaurant last Friday night.
The first charge is felony murder.
Garrett Rolfe, who lost his job a day later, is accused tonight of felony murder and 10 other charges that could cost him his life if he's convicted. Officer Devin Brosnan, who was first to arrive on the scene, is charged with aggravated assault. The county prosecutor who made the decisions said that these photos steered his thinking. Pictures of former Officer Rolfe kicking Brooks as he's dying, and pictures of Officer Brosnan standing on the shoulder of the man.
Officer Rolfe actually kicked Mr. Brooks while he laid on the ground, while he was there fighting for his life.
It all began with a call that Brooks was asleep at the wheel in the drive-thru of the restaurant. Officer Brosnan gets there first.
Hey.
Parking 41
Sir.
25 westbound at Jones.
What's up, man?
25 west.
Hey, you're parked in the drive-thru right now. Hey, sir. All right, you good?
Yeah. Brooks wakes up and moves the car into a parking space. Officer Rolfe arrives, and this is now an alleged DUI.
Hold on, Mr. Brooks. Will you take a preliminary breath test for me? It's yes or no.
I don't want to refuse anything.
It's yes or no. It's completely up to you.
But when Brooks refuses arrest, it gets physical, and you see him wrestle a taser from one of the 2 officers. It's when he's seen here, reaching back with the stun gun and pointing it at the officer, when Officer Rolfe fires. In a statement, Rolfe's lawyer says his client heard a sound like a gunshot and saw a flash in front of him. Fearing for his safety and the safety of the civilians around him, Officer Rolfe dropped his taser and fired his service weapon at the only portion of Mr. Brooks that presented to him, Mr. Brooks' back.
What are we doing? Or do we care about the protesters and trying to solve the issues that they have? Or do we just care to use sacrificial lambs to act like we're doing something? We don't know. But what I do know is you're tearing up the Atlanta Police Department.
The prosecutor says there's a lot more to the story, that Brooks was 18 feet away when the first shot was fired, that the taser Brooks had wrestled away from the officer had fired all of its rounds, and that Rolfe yelled, "I got him," after firing the deadly shots. Brooks' family tonight says this is the starting point of justice.
I was very hurt. I didn't imagine being there because I don't know what I would have done if I would have seen that for myself. But I felt everything that he felt just by hearing what he went through. And it hurt. It hurt really bad.
Yes, we appreciate and we commend the DA's office for charging these officers appropriately. But that's just step one.
In the streets of Atlanta this evening and at the Wendy's restaurant that burned to the ground, protesters cheered and blocked roads. The two officers have until tomorrow evening to turn themselves in.
So let's get right back to Steve Osunsami with us again tonight. And Steve, we were all listening during that press conference today. The DA saying that Officer Brosnan, the second officer, had agreed to testify against Officer Rolfe to turn state's witness. But a moment ago, Brosnan's attorney now saying that's not the case.
That's right, David. That officer's attorney was quite strong on the issue, saying that his client has not agreed to testify, has not agreed to plead guilty, and never even pulled out his gun to use it. The family of Mr. Brooks tonight is planning a funeral. David?
Steve Osunsami leading us off again tonight. Steve, thank you.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And thank you for joining us for this morning edition of the Riley King Newscast right here on the Riley King Network. Have a great rest of your Thursday morning, everyone. See you back here next time for another broadcast. I'll have news report coming up in a little bit. Goodbye, everyone.